Hi, I'm Edgar Hernandez.
And I'm Nuri Robles. And this is
Bar Talking Bar.
Your access to the heartbeat of New York City's bar and hospitality scene.
Hosted straight from the city that never sleeps, we sit down with bartenders, brands and ambassadors, hospitality pros, and cocktail lovers.
Whether it's the art of bartending, the hustle behind hospitality, or the wildest bar tales, expect raw conversations and industry secrets.
Listen to the people who pour your favorite cocktails and keep the nightlife alive.
If you love bars, spirits, and the stories that bring them to life, follow us, share, and subscribe to keep the conversations flowing.
The podcast that you didn't know you need.
New episodes weekly. Hello, I'm Nuri Robles.
And I'm Edgar Hernandez.
And this is
Bar Talking
Bar.
Your favorite podcast by now. We want to start by acknowledging everyone who's listening to us every week. People who has been commenting in our social media. We appreciate your time and your likes.
And comments.
And your comments.
Yes.
Why don't we start by
introducing our favorite guest tonight.
Hey.
Today we have a special guest, and I think everybody is so happy. He's going to be happy to see you here. Meaghan Dorman.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Well, thank you so much for coming. As we know, we're celebrating History Month.
Women's History Month.
Yes, and I think you are like a very, very important icon in the industry. We know you for a little bit, but for the audience that some people, they don't know you. Do you mind introducing yourself, please?
Yes. My name is Meaghan Dorman. Most importantly, I'm a twin and an Aries. Oh. And I, right now, am the bar director and partner at Rain's Law Room. Rain's Law Room at the William, Dear Irving on Hudson, Dear Irving on Broadway. I've been there since the very beginning. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I started as a busser, server, bartender, and have continued on the journey.
Wow.
Do you know what? And what I'm liking about today's episode, it's we want to listen to your story of success, because we know, like, you know, the businesses, but people sometimes see the business like the person where, you know, like where you are right now, but they don't know the progress. Yeah. And I feel like the progress is the most important part, because that's what you build, you know, history, community, legacy. And as we spoke to some of the guys in the past, I think it's very important to all of those who are new into this service industry, or people who has been in the industry, to know who you are as a human, as a person, but also the achievements that you have been collecting throughout the years. I know you have been also in panels, you know, like talking about things that you have been doing, but we also want to listen to you. I want to hear from you in this platform and the show.
Yeah, and I think, you know, stay tuned for the whole episode.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll all come together. But who I am now as a leader is very influenced from everything I did before, because you learn a lot about what you want to take with you, what you want to leave behind. You start to trust your own opinions. So it doesn't happen, you know, one day or one promotion. It doesn't change everything. It's quite a journey that's not linear.
So what about if we start from before you start in the industry? So you mentioned that you're from Connecticut.
Yes.
So how do you grow up in Connecticut?
Yeah, I grew up right outside of New Haven, Connecticut. We're talking to each other on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
My family is Irish. Most of the family has been here for a long time. My grandmother immigrated from Dublin, obviously well before me, but it's a big part of our family for sure. So I am a twin. We're the oldest. I have two little brothers. My parents still live in Brantford, Connecticut, where I'm from. My mom worked in hospitality on and off when I was younger. Okay. And I didn't see it as a career right away, but I did see it as like flexible work, because she would work kind of depending what was going on with us, what my dad was doing at the time, and it was a good way to fill in. And I also, much later in life, was like, I was horrible, because for a while she was working lunch at the seafood restaurant, and she was done at 4, and I would start calling the restaurant because I probably wanted to ride somewhere or something. And I was like, but it's after 4. And she was like, lunch is like, you know. And then later on, I still remember, because I was like, I can't believe I was calling my mom's restaurant. Like, it's 4:05.
Where are you,
Give me a
Mom?
ride.
So, and your twin sister?
Yeah, so my twin is Kate. We're very close, but very different as well. So she loves a good cocktail. I've made her a lot of margaritas. That's her jam. But she does something different
Okay.
in Connecticut. Yeah, she's a paralegal and has lots of sound advice when I need it.
It is true that twins, they have like...
A secret language? Yeah, so definitely my mom says we had one when we were little because we could communicate with each other before anyone understood us. And my mom always tells this story about how we had 2 cribs and my mom like pokes her head in to say goodnight to us. And it's, it's probably 20 seconds, but it feels like because she pops her head in and my crib is empty. Oh no, where's the baby? But then she does the math and like I've gotten out of my crib across the table and I'm in my sister's crib. So it was like a...
My other little...
Yeah. But I always tell people like now our secret languages is like I know when my sister wants to leave a party or like we both know when like we're like okay.
So you literally do the Irish goodbye.
Yeah. I'm very good at the Irish goodbye. No offense to anybody, but sometimes it's time.
I mean, it's hard, especially like if you're in a party with like 200 people. How are you going to say goodbye to everyone?
Well, the other side is that anyone that's married into my family will talk about the Fitzgerald goodbye and how like you're like, okay, I'll meet you at the car. And the husband is sitting in the car for like half an hour.
Oh, yes.
So you either have to go 0 goodbyes or it's 200 goodbyes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's one of both.
pick your battle.
Yeah, I'm very bad at it. Like sometimes I want to say goodbye and then I end up like talking again.
But then you start making plans and then,
Yeah, there's always like, if you don't go straight, I always say, oh, I'll be back. I'm going to go use the restroom or I'm going to go grab a drink.
Yeah.
So then you're gone.
Yeah.
They're not looking for you because they think you're grabbing a drink.
Yeah.
They'll take them.
You're like, with your jacket on? I'm like, yes.
I'm cold.
So growing up, you went to obviously school. Yes. Did you study something before like going to like industry?
Yeah, well, I started in hospitality as like my first job when I was 16. I worked at, if anybody grew up in the Northeast, at Friendly's, which was like mostly an ice cream place, but kind of a diner. So I was like a busser and an ice cream scooper, and I decorated the ice cream cakes, which was really fun. And that was because like I wanted my own money, and I'm still wearing polo, but I was like a 16-year-old that only wanted polo, and my mom was like, no. And then when I went to college in New Haven, I started bartending because I had a friend that was working at the sports bar. And that was my first experience with like a great hospitality boss. So I had a great boss before I ever had a bad one, which is important.
Yeah.
But I worked like 1 or 2 nights a week during college at a sports bar. I made just enough money to have like a little spending money, but I could focus on school. I did work my way up to football Sunday, so I was pretty good. But then I studied marketing, international marketing actually, in college. And I really only had one goal, which was to be a New Yorker. Achieved. But I wanted to do marketing. I kind of wanted to work in fashion. I did do a semester abroad in France. Like, I didn't really know where I was going, but it was like, I wanted to try to go somewhere else. I knew I could always come home. But then I worked for internships my senior year of college. So New Haven is pretty close to New York. So I did my schedule so I could go into the city. And I just looked on my own. It wasn't really a program through school, but I applied to a few internships. I wanted to work at Polo, but they didn't call me back. But I actually interned at Rockaware, which was Jay-Z's clothing company at the time. And I got adopted by Alonda, love you, and Shelly, who were assistants at the time. And they just like adopted me in because they were supposed to kind of like check out all the interns. But they're like, you're going to stay here. Okay. So I actually didn't love the fashion side of it, but I loved the creativity. I loved the music. I loved the movies. I loved that it was like a hustle every day. It was like a very independent spirit of what they were building. And I actually got a job right out of college, which was great because I needed one. So I was Damon Dash's assistant at Rockefeller and Rockaware, like as my first job.
Yeah.
And I got an apartment in Harlem, and I was like, oh,
How old are you?
22, I think.
Well,
Like I had
that's
just
super
graduated
cool.
from college.
So you're,
Yeah.
I guess. Like going to your apartment and being like an adult.
Yeah, I have like one of those cool old black and white bathrooms. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. So then how do you transition from?
Yeah, so I did a lot of assistant work for probably 5 or 6 years in like music and fashion. And I could kind of bounce around. Like I was on the wrong side of the Rockefeller breakup. I was one of the earlier people that was let go there. And then I worked at like J Records for a little while and Sony Classical Music, which was very quiet. But I was in this kind of like pool of assistants that people would call for like short-term work. So I did a lot of that. And then I worked for Daytwan Thomas, also one of my very important bosses in my life, at Harris Publications. He was running Rides and King Magazine and then eventually Double XL Magazine. So again, I was doing a lot of like just behind the scenes work. And if you've seen like movies or TV shows about assistants, like I was like sometimes finding private jets and like finding catering and like the new iPhone's coming out. Like I was that like gopher girl that was like getting coffee and doing this. And I just like loved being in the background and like kind of supporting art that I cared about.
Wow, that's
Which
amazing.
in another sense, like that's kind of also hospitality, you know.
Yeah, and it leads a lot into why I was a good bartender, why I'm a good manager, of like that willingness to work behind the scenes, to execute, to kind of like work in support of this bigger idea was really like, you know, it took me a while to connect all the dots, but it was very influential to like how I have moved forward. And I was working on all those industries at a time where like it wasn't going well. I think media has died like 10 more times since I worked there, but I started bartending again when I needed extra money or when these jobs became freelance. I worked at Coogan's in Washington Heights, which a lot of people know about. It's closed now. I did a couple of restaurant jobs, but I had also at the same time gotten really into cocktails, like just kind of on my own. In media, there's always kind of like, what are people writing about? What are like, we would work on events with people. Like, it's interesting to see that other side of it now again, you know, like people would sponsor things. So I was kind of an adjacent and I was really into it on my own. Like I went to Little Branch, I went to Death and Company, but I was definitely like, how do you get one of these jobs?
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Craigslist, open call, that's the answer.
And did you study like when you went to apply for the jobs? Were you already a separate bartender, or were you?
I was bartending. I had bartended at Coogan's. Well, the first thing about bartending in New York City is getting New York City experience, like literally anywhere.
Yeah.
Even though I realized nobody checks. But so I worked at a restaurant in Harlem as well. That was like kind of doing cocktails, and I also learned a lot from that because no one was really in charge. And it was like, this cocktail list was so serious, but we never had the right things for it. And so I was like, okay. And it was also one of those places where the information was very separated. Like as a server, I couldn't go behind the bar and make drinks. I couldn't really help, even though I'm like, it's my tips, man. Like, come on.
Exactly.
So I have learned both a lot of things that have take with me and things.
Because sometimes we talk about like, you know, now we see this openness and community in bartending. I think in my experience is that, I don't know, like 20 years ago when I started working in this industry, I always see like bartenders were like, you know, like lions taking, taking care of the bar. Nobody can touch anything. Nobody can try anything. And it was kind of weird because it was like, how am I gonna know how to, you know, sell it? I don't know, like.
Or if you have a question back then, like, you know, you were like, oh, where's this tomorrow coming from?
Or, you know, like when you'd have to ask permission, you're at a table and somebody wants something. And you're like, I have to go ask the bartender. And now I have to come back. Like, that agency of just like having the information, being able to make a call, like, it makes sense from so many angles. But I've definitely worked in situations where that wasn't the case.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, honestly, that happened because, like she said, you know, we were kind of like guarding, people was kind of guarding their information. But at the end of the day, it's tips, right? Everyone's tip, because if they make money, that means the house makes money. That means everyone makes money. Ultimately, that's the goal, right? So everyone can make money. If you're making money as an employee, as a bartender, server, or busboy, the house makes money, of course.
Yeah.
And I think that's the goal. But I think when you're like guarding something and you let it, you know, go past this information.
You're kind of protecting your station or your job in the short term, but you're not, like, it's not for the health of everybody.
Exactly.
My first bartending job that I got in New Haven, I did get because I had started making my own drinks because I was working with a bartender that was pretty slow for a Friday. And I was like, you know, I have to make money on the floor. And one day he didn't show up. And I was like, I can do it. And I have to give credit to my manager, Paul, was like, she's already making her own drinks.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, you get a chance. Let's
That's good.
But also, I feel like in the past, I never get that chance of working with like sections where like this is your section and these are your tips. So there were like places that it wasn't a pool.
It is.
So everybody, yeah, because like I've also had like the opportunity to see other workers that they said, because I'm new, they're giving me the worst section, the slowest. And then definitely it was like the bartender's getting more tips than everybody else.
Yeah, and no one will help you because it doesn't benefit them at all.
Yeah.
Not even as a human.
or like, don't touch that.
Yeah,
My
because that's
station.
mine. Don't go to my tables.
And it was kind of like weird. But I feel like also we saw that part of like, we're going to talk about this, like the male-dominated industry. So what were the challenges that you faced?
Well, I think I saw it from different angles because my first bartending job in New Haven, the main owner was a woman, Stacey Parker, and she was great. She had great energy. It was very like, she was super kind and like empathetic to like, because it was all students and people, different things. But, you had to do your shift. She put people on the shifts they really deserved that they could keep up with. And I worked there all through college because she would adjust with my schedule, but also like I showed up for her. So I think that was a really good example. And when you work in sports bars and Irish bars, it's pretty even. Like it wasn't until really the craft cocktail side of things where, especially in the late 2000s, there was like this look that people expected. And there was like a few well-known people and that was kind of it. So it was kind of funny to have it, like think about it again 10 years later that like, oh, you're only choosing these 4 people all the time for everything. Or just what people expected, even because people will talk about it now that there's enough distance that like, yeah, we hired him because he looked the part. Or brands will say like, this is just what we thought we had to do. This is what everyone was asking for. And then, you realize not everybody has the skills because they have the look. Or there's other people with lots of skills that don't have that look.
Exactly. I think that's I'm so happy you say
And if
that.
people were not there for it, it was like the mustache bartender, like the arm garters being very serious about cocktails. And there was a point that we were really trying to separate what we were doing from, it was kind of like nightclub or Irish bar. Like that kind of felt like my only experiences in New York, but there wasn't a more formal element of cocktails. And there was definitely a different energy from guests that were like, once you're in a bar, we do what we want. We invite as many people as we want. We yell at you. We do this. And like, especially from that, I've come from that like Sasha Petrosky school of things. Like there's also a balance of like, we're all in the same room together. We're all here for an experience. It's never about one person. You're going to talk to people with respect. So there was a lot going on to try to like separate what we were doing, but it did come with its own like kind of stereotypes of who could do what and who was the person to ask, because plenty of people would be like, can I talk to the bartender? And it's me.
Yeah.
The one standing behind the bar.
Which is weird, like,
Yeah.
I'm behind the bar.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm like, hello.
Yes.
I've been shaking cocktails for the last 30 minutes.
But now it's time for you to make a decision and you're worried about it.
Did you have the chance to meet Sasha?
Yeah. So when we opened Rain's Law Room, I, again, like got the job from an open call. I just really wanted to work at a cocktail bar. I could tell from the description that it was going to be cocktail focused, but it was still under construction. Like it was hard to tell exactly what was happening. But Michael, or Mickey, as most people call him, from Milk and Honey at the time, was like our consultant. So he did the first menu and he trained us like very much in that school. And every Sunday when I got out of work, I sat at Milk and Honey at the bar and I tried drinks I hadn't had. And I just watched always doing the same thing over and over, but as well. And that's something we talk about a lot is like 6 o'clock has to be as good as 11 o'clock. You always pull the coldest glass. You always look at the wash line. You always try to build the round as tight as possible. But it's different to see it in person versus read it or hear it. And I got to meet Sasha at Milk and Honey. He came into Rains and things like that, yeah.
That's amazing.
Because now you mentioned that the continuity or the, we have to be 6 or 11, the same drinks. I feel like and also having that experience of like going to a cocktail place that you feel like welcome and everything. I feel like nowadays it's a little hard because I feel like, for example, in your case, right? Like back in the day, I feel also it was kind of easy to get a job in terms of like we see potential, you can be trained, we trust, your resume and everything, and they will give you the opportunity. But I feel like nowadays it's a little different in terms of like you have to make, I don't know, like so many drinks, and it's about like mechanical things instead of like personality as well. That it's sometimes I think
It's also to your point, because when you say the training, it was very different when the cocktail boom started all over again in late 2000. As of now, we have cocktails with a little bit more ingredients, and also bartenders. If you want to bartend, you have to know a little bit more, have a little bit more information, because you have to know at least your classics, and they know everything else, or at least barback.
Yeah. And yes and no, because post-pandemic, it was very hard to hire people again, or it just felt like there was never enough people. But also I felt like at least there was a big chunk of like classics knowledge that kind of got lost because either people weren't doing it. In certain bars, it's not as much of the kind of baseline that you start with, because now there's bars that are very particular, like they're into kind of one thing, or it's very culinary, or it's all about one spirit, which can be great. But yeah, you don't find, at least I haven't found that everyone has that same like benchmark knowledge all the time anymore after the pandemic. And now it's kind of coming back again, which like if you stay in one place long enough, it all comes back around.
Yeah.
But also I have to say, I started bartending like before Instagram and like before people took pictures of things. And because we were just learning a lot more in real life. And to be a really good bartender, you have to be social, at least in that setting, because I can be a quiet person or a shy person, but like, you know how you feel more comfortable with that, like, 24 inches of marble, you can be like a different person.
Yeah.
But when you've kind of just looked at it on the internet a lot, or, everyone had a different experience during the pandemic, it's harder for some people to like, really you're hosting, no matter what your role is. If you have a front of house role, like you're hosting people's experience. And that has been a little bit lost, I think, as well too.
Yeah, it happens to me once in the past Brooklyn convention. We went to this bar. It's kind of famous, and the drinks are like very. It has like a dive bar as a feel, but also it's like very crafty in cocktails. But then the bartender was like, "What do you want?" Okay, we want this. And then we want some water, and they have also a water station. But he wasn't even busy, so we were drinking a lot of water, and then the person I was next to, she asked again for water, and he was like, "Well, if you need water, just go to the station." And it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, like you said, missing of like hosting, because I feel like everybody says the same, right?
There's also a lot of good drinks these days. So if the whole experience isn't great or welcoming, you might choose it once, but would you choose it again?
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned four bartenders, they weren't more now. But right now, if you go around the city, there's a lot of places that you can go and choose from, Like just you mentioned also earlier, like, if you want to go to a Japanese restaurant or a Japanese cocktail bar, just because they have that kind of technique and the cocktails are very different from an American bar. And, I mean, there's so many places you can choose from, and you can just have a map in the Lower East Side or Midtown or even Perla Negra uptown, like we just talked about it earlier. It just like depends where you want to go, what do you like to drink, what do you like to explore, and you want to leave the city or stay in the city, but explore Japan per se, right?
Yeah.
Or Perla Negra, because they have really good cocktails up there too. But yeah, I mean, I think with bartending nowadays, it's important to recognize also people who's doing events and people who's putting their faces in competitions. Like the Speed Rack, we talked about it the other day.
Yeah.
It's great because I see this community, and I mentioned Speed Rack because celebrating month of women and compliments, achievements, and one of the achievements I think in Speed Rack, and I'm gonna say for the participants, people who take part of the competition, even if you don't make the stage, I think it's important to recognize them too, because it takes a lot of guts for
They're
you.
doing something most people will not do,
Exactly, it takes a lot of guts to
either
do
out of
that.
fear or the skills or the combination of both.
Yeah, and I actually want to applaud them because like seeing them compete is it's crazy.
It's so electric.
It's electric, but it's also like great, It's so good to see, like, especially when you see a teammate, like somebody who works with you, who has worked with you. Like, I see the potential of that person. I wanted to be there.
Yeah.
But it's not up to you to be, for them to
Yeah.
make it. They have to make the decision ultimately, right?
Yeah. I just like to drop it in the chats all the time. Seed rack is open.
Exactly.
And I feel like it was very nice that Evie and Ivy and Lynette, they thought about doing this, but also helping other women that are suffering from cancer, and trying to put aside the show business to like something very important with the women we faced, which is health. And sometimes working in this industry also we don't have some benefits, which also changed during the time, because back in the day there was like no many laws that protect us. But I feel like nowadays we have more opportunities as women. So I guess that you also had like some challenges when you started. Can you mention something?
I think I had challenges in just
Was something that you learned in the hard way?
yeah. Well, I learned a lot about who I wanted to be if I ever had a little bit of sway, or was, because I was a server and a bartender, and then I was a head bartender. Up until 2020, I was still bartending a lot of shifts while we were opening the other bars. So my role has like changed a lot over the years, but I did go from like a peer to like kind of managing, or at least overseeing things, and then to more director role, to being a partner, where you think a lot more about the business as a whole. But I did think a lot about like what didn't work for me as I was like moving along, which was like I was a quieter person like I am, and I got interrupted a lot. I got spoken over a lot, not just in hospitality, but like I worked in music and media with like huge personalities. And like I come from a family that's like, put your head down and do the work, which has gotten me a lot of places, but not everyone will notice. So I always wanted to be creative in like how I connect with people on my team, because I don't want to be a place where only the loudest voice gets heard, because that didn't work for me when I was not the loudest person. So I try to be around like a lot during pre-shift, a lot on the slower nights, just really like available to people so they find their own way of connecting, or like me kind of connecting with them if like I see potential, I see an idea. It means the most to me that people come to me, not always like with good news or not what's going well, but when they need help and when something's not wrong or something's not going right, because that means like, oh, okay, the door is really open.
Yeah, I think that gives you the open door policy.
Yeah.
And also that I think has a lot to do with your personality, because you mentioned you're quiet, but like we see that you're super friendly and outgoing, and every time we see you, like it's easy to talk to. I guess when you're a boss, people sometimes see you as like, oh, they're so serious, and we shouldn't approach them. But we always say that building courage is one thing, but also if you don't ask, you're not gonna know, right? Whatever kind of question it is, how are you gonna get an answer if you don't ask or approach the person?
And like I said, like I think about who I would have wanted around at a certain point in my career, and I know what having a creative outlet, having stable employment, and like the kind of extra bandwidth that gives you to like, I call it room to bloom, but I'm like, you get to like become who you're meant to be. So I try to give that like stable ground to people to like, yes, become great at your job, but also like, I meet people at like certain times in their life, like become the person you're meant to be. Hopefully it's here. It might not always be, but I think like I love to see it, you know?
And also we spend a lot of time with these people, right?
Yeah.
Because if within the team, I think most of the time, if you say you spend 40 hours there, it's not true. It's a little bit more, because if you multiply people's hours there, it's more than that. You talk to like at least 7 to 8 people minimum per day, right? Imagine that, how many people talk to you that person talked to you once, but you talk to 8 other people.
Yeah.
So in reality, your brain is always thinking about like how different personalities kind of like helping each other and connecting, like you say, the team, right? Because it's a little bit hard to connect the team when it's one person. I think when you build that community and have that open policy.
And it's also very much a two-way street. Like I've been on a lot of panels about kind of mentorship and leadership, but it's not me training 50 Meaghans. It's like what everybody gives back to me, because I have a lot to offer and I have like my lens that I've learned to like kind of see the world through and build the bars through. But if you think about I have like enough energy and ideas for 5 bars, I hate to spoil it, but I don't. And it's like Benzie and Cisco and Rolando and Kelsey, like, yes, they're learning, but like they've been around so long that now they have something to give back. Like they have their own perspective on Dear Irving. They have their own perspective on Rain's Law Room. They're so proud of like what we've built that they're taking it on too. And I think it's like this kind of building of like, yes, I had some good ideas. Some of them are 10 years old now. So like, where are we in 2025, 2026 to like keep these bars open and interesting? Like, it's definitely a two-way street.
Yeah.
I mean, now you talk about people, like we have some guests here that they were your alumni.
My alumni?
Yeah. And I feel like, that seeing these bartenders like Fabi or like, like Ben, they have their own personality as well. But I feel like having you as a leader, as a role model, that you have this background of like how we want to have a bar that hosts a very good experience for everyone, not just for your regulars, but for everyone who comes. I think that's what makes many bars in New York like be alone.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about legacy a lot, especially like Reigns turned 15 a couple years ago. And that was like such an accomplishment, but also like we got to just reflect on like where we've been. And it's a big mix of like the regulars and the staff and like how many people have come through over the years and like how many people remember like coming to New York for the first time and coming there and how it got them into cocktails. So it's very rewarding like to hear that and know that, but it's also like a push to keep it going. And to like, now I'm much more comfortable saying to people like, this is what I see. You might not see it yet, but I do. So like, let's get there. And something I saw a lot in like earlier times in my career is that the work ethic of Latin people is very celebrated and admired, and it is not that often promoted. And when I was looking, like things would open up. What means so much more to me is like you know the place, you love service, because really what we do is we work service. We get to do a lot of cool things, go to things, host things, travel, but like what keeps us in this business is service every night.
Exactly.
And like when people know it in and out, okay, let's talk about the stuff that you're less comfortable with. But I don't like always looking outside for a fix. I know that there's people in here that love it and that want to do it.
So, for example, I think we were talking about what happened with your place the past week, that they have a fire
Rain's
incident.
Law Room Chelsea had a fire, which is extremely sad, but everyone is safe. Hopefully the closure will not be that long. There's a lot to be determined on this day and time, but yes.
No, I mentioned. I mean, you were mentioning about like you looking for places that they can, give a couple of shifts for the people that are not working right now, and it makes me think about how's your perception of like having a team and having a person that, let's say, doesn't have a lot of flexibility with time, because we're humans, right? And we have sometimes personal life that situations that prevent us to have a full-time job. And are you able to hire someone that says, I want to be a barback or I want to be a bartender, but I can only give you 2 days? Will you hire someone like that?
Yeah. I mean, for us, we've like definitely adjusted over the years, because it's very true that not everyone can work full time. A lot of people have a couple jobs now. When I kind of started, especially in cocktail bars, it seemed like everybody worked 5 shifts. Somehow everybody was off Sunday and Monday, but the bars were still open. But, it was a little more, everyone did this one thing. And now there's a lot of I think people doing other jobs, but also people do use hospitality when they're working on other things or in between things. And that still adds a lot to the culture of the bars. It makes it more interesting, I think. I just try to be very clear with people about the expectations. Everybody has to work at least 2 days because just 1 day a week starting over all the time, that doesn't work for us, I have learned. For the most part, 4 shifts is full time for us because you'll get about 40 hours or so. You'll also be like fresh and kind and fun.
Yeah.
Those shifts, I can't tell you what to do on your days off, but that's how we think about it. I just try to be extremely clear with people about like what the times are, what the schedule is. These are the expectations. We are going to hold you accountable for them. But otherwise, yeah, people are living a lot of different lives here.
Yeah, people then have other things to do and other jobs. And when you mention a 40 hours, I feel like when you work more than that at a place, sometimes you need to, relax and decompress. And sometimes because if you work late nights, especially as a bartender,
Yeah.
if you work up until like 2 a.m. every single night, it's hard. It takes a toll on your body. So you basically need either a day job and then 2 nights or 4 nights, because especially if you have family,
Yeah, and being fair about like who's opening, who's closing. Not people, we call them clopins, but like you don't close and then open. Every once in a while there's emergencies, but
Thank you so much.
I also talk to people a lot about like you can't lose perspective about being a guest because you know how it is when you like haven't even seen the outside world. But you're saying the same thing 100, 200 times a night. People are spending their hard-earned funds with you. They're counting on you for big nights. Like we've all seen it and we've probably all been there that you're phoning it in. You're really tired. This is annoying, but you still have to like get outside and do things. And it doesn't have to be cocktails all the time, but like there's so much hospitality.
Yeah, any activities.
To get a coffee, go see your barber, go to a museum, and like you need that perspective, I think.
Yeah. We need to have a lot of bartenders have other, I've seen people doing like boxing and running and, activities that they don't necessarily require, going into like having dinner or,
Yeah.
drinks. But also it's kind of decompressing, I've seen like, she mentioned Ivy Mix actually running the marathon. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
I know, I'm always amazed. We have a coworker at Irving on Hudson that I think has done the marathon 9 times.
Well,
I'm always like, you're on your feet all night and then you choose to run 27 miles.
exactly.
Wow.
Especially if you work that same night, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, you work Saturday night and then you go around a marathon like no one is business. And then you said, I'm on Monday, Tuesday. I'll recover by Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then you go back and do it all over again. And to me, that, not me, but like I've seen Julio also, one of my really good friends. He's a partner at the Lions and St. Mark's and First. And like seeing them run, like, all the activities outside from like bartending basically, it's also like, it frees your mind,
Yeah.
And I think, I'm using that as an example, but there's so many other examples that we can use, right?
but I feel like, like lately we try to also still talking about like women in this industry and like the places that now we have more places, right? And I feel like now the narrative could be more of like integration of like men and women, but also like ethnicities, because I feel like now you go to bars and you can see more like, for example, like Mexican bartenders or like Latino bartenders that we used to don't see that like 20 years ago, right?
And I think some of that comes from like having those voices in the room. I can't tell you like how much advice that I've given about just little things like you need a hook in the bathroom because like we're going to put our bag up and we need a mirror for our lipstick. And like sometimes that's like little and silly, but no, it does make people feel more comfortable in the space. Or when we're talking about uniforms, like how many interviews I went on that were like heels for her and Nikes for him. And you're like, and I'm supposed to be nice to people for 12 hours? Like,
Yeah.
But then there's even bigger things when you start to like get into like more HR things, I think, for the company. But like now we're trying to like, things are much more structured than probably they were, 10 or 15 years ago. And thinking about, how do we include everybody? How are we thinking about everybody? But that perspective doesn't exist if you don't have some of those people to offer their opinion about like, this is what I need, this is how this feels to me. If it's the same people making all the decisions, they only see it from their point of view.
Yeah, and for me, honestly, that one of the best examples and I admire about you is that you are very inclusive. I've been in a couple of events that you host at the Irving, and you open the doors for women, but also like you try to integrate men in that conversation, and also seeing you that you promote like a lot of like Latinos. No, we have Lane working with you, and you give them the opportunity because you see that, like you said, they have voice, they have the skills and everything. I feel like that's very empowering because people sees you as a role model, right?
And maybe it goes back to being a twin. Like I've always shared, like it's never ever been all about me. But I also like, I don't think that I know everything. I don't think all my drinks are the best. I don't think all the service should be the way I think it should be. I don't want this to sound like more self-deprecating than it is, but like, I don't think I'm that special. I think I'm good at what I do. I have tried very hard, but I also know that what I have done is very possible for a lot of people. If they have the right avenue, if they have the steady ground to try, if they feel like they won't get fired for every mistake, or they can like bring ideas to the table. Because again, like not only is it the right thing to do, especially with everything that's kind of going on, but like we have global clientele, right? We have spirits and ingredients from all over the world now available to us. We have all kinds of different personalities that like only help us do better the more people like that feel comfortable in our space. But that comes from people feeling comfortable in the space. And I remember having this like kind of moment at Rain's Law Room because it meant so much to me. Like this was the job I wanted. I felt like confident that I was a part of making this bar work, but it was also that like creative outlet, that like agency I finally had over my life that made me like a steadier person, the person I was meant to be. This bar meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to the people that were coming in. It could mean a lot to everyone else that works here if you focus on that kind of a culture. And that's what I've tried to do.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool, honestly. Because, like you mentioned, you have spirits from all over the world, people from different backgrounds. And I guess that also builds this kind of like different sauce, right? Because it's like everyone has something to bring to
and
the
like
table.
the drinks, the drinks are very collaborative at this point. Like the menu, everybody works on it. And like every time I'm like writing on a recipe, I'm like, it's Elaine and Cisco. It's Benzie and me. Because everybody like kind of throws their opinion in it. And it is a place where like we talk pretty honestly about like, I wouldn't drink that whole drink because it's also expensive now, right? Like it really has to feel worth it. We have to like go through it of like, is this a Dear Irving drink? Is this a Range drink? And it's a very open conversation, but it's pretty honest. And everybody kind of ends up working together to be like, what does it need? Like, what's that extra little? And it kind of bleeds into service that like, there's two bartenders working together. They're their own little team. Like when Robin and Cisco work on Friday and Saturday night, it's like, stop it, I would pay double to be here.
They put up a show, basically. And you know what's funny? Because when we went to the Brandon's Law, the town little bar, and every time we enjoy standing there, having a drink.
Yeah.
And maybe like a chat with the guys, going to the, if we have to go into
and
the
that
rooms.
also takes them hosting you as much as like, yes, we're making drinks and we're focused on it. But, going back to that kind of idea of service is like, we're really here to engage people and build regulars. And that's a lot of it.
And you really see that they're having fun.
Yeah.
You know? Like they're happy and, enjoying what they're doing. And like making it seem like they're just there. But they're basically making like probably building 5 different cocktails at the same time while talking to you, Like
I just did a few like Friday, Saturday manager shifts. And at the end of the night, we're like, whoo, look at this.
Yeah. And that's impressive. But that's also really good, right? Because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable at the place you are. You're happy, So basically, your time that you're there, you enjoy it. And it's more productive. Because, like you're happy, you make 20 cocktails.
Yeah.
And once you start like tensing up and then break a glass, everything goes wrong. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Like, when I walk
like the
in,
spiral starts soon.
Exactly.
But also if you're working in a place where it's scarier, like you start hiding your mistakes and you're kind of like, can you give me that drink really fast? class.
Yeah.
But like we're all just kind of like we're on the same team. We're here to do it together. Yes, there's consequences if you really mess up, but like we've all been there, right? We've all dropped a class. Like let's keep it moving.
Exactly. Things break.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
You forget tickets. Like let's just fix it. Let's fix it.
yeah, it's easier to fix it to get it rolling
Yeah.
and to stop and spend 20 minutes trying to solve.
Yeah.
No, just get it done, move on,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about it. I think that's the best option that I always see.
Yeah.
Because it's more helpful to keep moving because it's like
Yeah.
a chain reaction. I always call it a chain reaction. You stop, you're not stopping you're stopping the entire team.
And I think that's a very good topic of like some people still doesn't learn that if you're a manager, you cannot go and get mad at the person who made a mistake during service.
Yeah.
Because it's another chain reaction of like putting the employee nervous or, like fearful, and then you can create more, mistakes. And I feel like your philosophy of like, let's fix it, move on, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
It's how it should be.
And I talk to people a lot about patterns, like both good and bad, but everybody has an off night. Like everybody makes a mistake. Does it happen a lot? Okay, now we need to address it. But also like every Thursday, do we run out of something and it's a stress point every Thursday? Well, okay, let's fix that. Do we need the host to come in a half an hour earlier because there's too many people? Like, once it gets nice out at 5 o'clock, it's too busy. What's most important? Protect the bubble. Give people good service. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's adjust the schedule. Always praising people for what goes well. Like when we get good reviews or good feedback, like it's in the chat. Like because part of what people love about working service is like you kind of always know how you're doing, right? Like you're getting good feedback. You know when you failed, when that joke was flat, when you were too slow. You know that as well. And you can kind of like come back. But everybody wants to hear when things are going well or what means something to people, because when like we have staff meetings or when we're doing R&D, like everybody's invited because everybody has something to say. The host at the door knows what people are saying at the door. They know what they're saying on their way out. They know if they're saying they're going to come back or if they're not, or like what drink they can't stop thinking about. The barback knows what he's always picking up that much left of, that people are not finishing, that people are returning. Everybody has something to offer.
Yeah, and I think that we don't really pay much attention to that, honestly, because like you mentioned, the barber picks up the left. If they didn't finish the entire drink, we might have to adjust something, right? Like those little details that our guests don't see, but us as professionals or industry professionals, as we call, because we are here every single day. We see those tiny little details, and they're important to improve.
And it's not, the POS is not going to tell you, your Resi rundown is not going to tell you that. Like you have to rely on like keeping the conversation open with everybody about like, how's it really going out there?
Yeah, exactly.
And I have this kind of like cliche or like silly question, but it's not silly. You working in this industry for a long time, and coming from marketing and deciding to stay in the industry. If you have to define it, how does it feel to be a bartender?
Ooh, it feels like I always love the kind of like the puppeteer aspect of it, of like I'm just quietly in control of like how all these nights are going, and I love eavesdropping on situations and then like kind of coming in as the hero of like, were you looking for late night pizza? Oh, well, I know. Or like you see people like fumbling on a first date kind of, and I'll just like insert myself. I don't know where it's going to go, but like, you really learn to read the room, and like so much of service is the nuance of things. And every table is different. Yes, people are going to sit at table 5 4 different times tonight, but each one is different, right? Like let's approach it differently. Like let's try to see what they're after. And I like that you never get to the end. Like you're never the best bartender, the greatest bartender. Like you can always be a little bit better.
Exactly.
So
never stop learning.
I like the journey of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Like never stop learning.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of bartenders I've seen, and they're great. I love them, and they're the best advice that I've heard ever from all of them. Never stop learning.
Yeah.
Learn as much as you can. Absorb. Be a sponge. And I'm gonna quote Bruce Lee: "Be like water, my friend."
Yeah, you have to.
You have to be like water. Be
I
shapeless.
learned that very early, that because I remember like the first kind of time we had like kind of a staff change at Rain's Law Room, and it wasn't for any bad reason, but like people move, people even moved to like a different borough and like it doesn't work. And like there were some regulars that were like, oh, I just, remember when, and I was kind of getting that feeling of like, oh, it used to be like this. It's not going to be again. So we could like talk about it for hours, or we could, meet the new people. They're great,
Exactly.
But like you can't get too stuck on that for sure.
And I guess that you working in this bartending industry, you were able to create a lot of drinks. But there is one that it caught my attention that you created. It was for your partner. It called Prank of America.
Oh, yes. Yes, I used to date someone that worked at Bank of America. And I just thought it was hilarious to call it Frank of America. But like it was very thoughtful. Like it was a Manhattan riff, just like he liked, but like with a spiced maple syrup because we're from the Northeast. Like it was like layers. I think about things way too much. Like it was like a lot of layers. Yeah.
I think those are the best cocktails
Yeah.
sometimes because you get different nuances.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talk about that both with the names. Like I always like a name that is like a rabbit hole of something. Like I think about drinks like perfume a lot. Like it needs those like light, bright things. It needs the grounding notes because it is like you want to sit with it, you want to enjoy it, but you really I hope that you think about it later,
Yeah.
And did you ever created something for your twin sister?
For my twin, I have to say during the pandemic, I made her every margarita variation like under the sun.
Oh, wow.
Like on Fridays, it was like classic blender strawberry margaritas. Watermelon is in season right now. Like it was just kind of like everything we could think of.
Wow.
But it was like, it was like one thing we did together. Like, she worked a lot because she worked for the state. So she was still working much more than I was at that time. So it was like kind of like our Friday ritual. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think enjoying time with the siblings is really important, especially if you have the one that looks just exactly like you.
We look related. Luckily, I will say being a twin is intense enough. I'm glad we don't look like exactly the same.
So what are the things that you do outside of work? Like
Yeah. Well, I have coined what I call the cool aunt club because I'm the cool aunt. So I try to do like a lot of activities with my nieces and nephews. Some of them are closer than others, but that's very important to me. I do Pilates, which has helped me be a more resilient bartender and person that stands on their feet all the time.
Yeah.
And I will say, other than cocktails, I spend most of my money on like shows and concerts.
cool.
Oh, I think Nuri is enjoying that.
Yeah.
She loves.
Doing that.
Yeah.
She loves concerts.
Don't tempt me with a pre-sale.
Well, me, it's very tough to pay for a concert here in the city these late days because they sold out so fast.
Yeah.
And then you want to get them and it's like triple or something.
Yeah.
But I love to go to festivals.
Yeah. And I do love the like, I love vinyl bars and like how listening rooms are a thing because you can listen to great music, great sound for not nearly as much money. I do love places that have DJs on certain nights that like, it doesn't even have to be like a club vibe, but it's just, it's a little something like you were talking about earlier. A DJ can really like read the room, very hospitality, but different about like, where are we all going? How are we feeling?
At least you're gonna start moving your shoulders.
Yeah, exactly.
Feeling
and then they're like, okay, I got a peace fan over here. Let's go.
Exactly.
So what would be like you have like a favorite like on music or like band?
No, I could.
Everything.
Yeah, I've probably gone all over the place. Yeah.
like what would be your like go to like drink or cocktail?
Ooh, everybody knows I'm a champagne girl because I like to have a little bubbles while I'm thinking about what I'm actually going to have. I really love to like try, I love to drink off people's menus. Like, it's funny because we get asked a lot of questions about like, what's good or like, what's not here. Like, we worked so hard on that menu actually. So I love to really like see what people are doing. I love to not make decisions. So I'm always like, I've talked to so many people today. What do you love that you make here? I don't love absinthe and I don't want anything creamy. Otherwise, go. Like I love to see people's kind of perspective and take on things.
Yeah, and every balad's different. Like we mentioned earlier, every cocktail bar, even if you're whatever kind of bar you use, whatever cocktails you're serving per se,
Yeah.
And every bartender, if the bartender created a program sometimes it's based on the palate
Yeah.
of the bartender, you know?
Yeah.
And oftentimes we don't really think about the outside. But it's good that you, like when you see an ingredient that you haven't tried, taste it.
Yeah.
Or a cocktail that, what is that
And
mean?
I really like our people, like we all love what we do. So I'm like very happy to ask a question and be like, if you were getting this or this, they definitely have an opinion. And like, yes, it's going to be hopefully framed towards like your feelings. But like, I love when people are like, this, if you want something more spirit forward, this is like more spicier than it reads. So just be careful. I'm like, okay, that's the information I need.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
And do you have like a preferred like neighborhood to go for a cocktail in the city?
I don't have a preferred neighborhood, but I will say I have a rule about like usually it's a Sunday, but kind of depends on what a day off is. Like I'll have a rule about not getting on the train.
Okay.
So I'll only go to places that I can walk. Sometimes it's kind of far if it's nice out, but like I do try to be like, because it's so easy. I work in Manhattan to like only kind of stay around there, but like there's so much good. And I'm like an independent bars and restaurants person. So I'm like, I want to see what you're doing. I'm very thoughtful about like where I spend my money for sure. So like I'm going to walk here and I'm going to get a coffee on the way. And by that time I'll be hungry and then I'll want to drink. So
So
I
you
try
plan
to do
your
that.
day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or sometimes like when it's nice in New York, you know, it's like a beautiful feeling. You just like, I might walk to Harlem. I don't know.
No, that's good.
And like now that you're not bartending, but you're like also a partner, how is the transition of like being a partner and then, bartender and then being a partner?
Well, again, like I have the voice of like, this is what works for us. This is what we need. Always bringing it back to the point of like, yes, there's a lot other things going on in a bar or restaurant to think about, but we make our money from selling drinks. So like everything here has to work. That's where we need some of the investment sometimes. And our events director, who's a good friend of mine, like she also started with me in the beginning of Reigns. So it's like just to have that knowledge of like, this is what we do well. This is what we can handle. Like it's very important to bring to people that like don't have that experience. And it's very honest. It's like we can try, and we do like we've definitely increased our events business, but we're pretty honest about like this is what we can do. This is like not the venue for that. And now we have 5, so it's very flexible. But I think when you can stay grounded in. I've been a host. I've been a server, busser, bartender. I have a lot of compassion for all those roles and what they need. So that is like where I start the process and build from there. And like when people are coming at it from another angle, like I'm very comfortable like advocating for like, okay, but this is what that means to us. This is what we need to execute that.
Yeah.
So
So basically understand the entire structure.
Yeah. And then on the other side, you can explain to people like profit actually means there being money left over after all of this, which like to have a busy shift can be totally different from being a profitable place. And that's sometimes what matters in like just the waste that happens with things, being careful with like our tools and did we need 20 napkins for that or 5 or like, just little things we can do better that all, it actually at the end of the day impacts our business.
Yeah.
I always tell people like every August the AC breaks down. It's also slow. Like we need the money that we made
Throughout
over the
the year.
winter.
Yeah, exactly.
to be there. So I think it's like having the perspective of both sides.
So if you had to tell your young self an advice,
Yeah.
what would be?
I would say don't be afraid of a slow burn because I used to think like, I don't even know what age. When you're 25, when you're 30, whatever, like you've found your thing or your lane. And like mine has changed so many times. And in cocktails and like how the cocktail thing has like taken off over the years, sometimes it can feel like, oh, am I getting left behind? Does anybody care? But also sometimes you need a little break to like creatively reset. So I would say, don't be afraid of like a steady pace versus like fast and furious.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes we hold back as younger, when we're young, because we are afraid of doing things. But just do it. Like I guess like the perfect example is seeing somebody like you. If somebody's watching us, like take that in as a perspective and say, hey, if you want to be in this position, the things that you have been doing, they can probably relate and work on it and like take the chances, you know. Like
Yeah.
she mentioned challenges, but I think changing that into instead of saying challenges, saying opportunities, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important to say opportunities. This is not my challenge. Yes, my challenge because it's something that's against me, but I'm gonna overcome it. So it's my opportunity. I'm gonna create this opportunity for myself. You know.
Yeah. And some of those like challenging spaces we don't have total control over. Sometimes it's kind of a little more on us or the situation that we're in. But I've taken so much of what has gone right and what's gone wrong. So if you are in a space that doesn't feel great or feels challenging, okay, just know you don't want to be back here again. So what are we doing next? How am I meeting the next opportunity that like I won't feel like this again?
Exactly. Yeah.
And you know, like as a woman, as a boss, as a friend, how's your relationship with other also women that are like now boss, like you know Lynette and
Yeah.
you know how's
I know Lynette told you about the cup chat because, of course, I listen to my friend's podcast. So I think it's really important to have people in your life that will give you honest advice because we love to celebrate each other. Especially like women can be very like, go girl, go. You're like, yeah, girl, I'm not doing that well. Like I'm struggling. Or like when you're really good friends with someone, you kind of know their patterns and what might get, like maybe they're not seeing something as clearly as you could kind of say, okay, but this is how I see it. This is maybe how you could get through. I think, you know, having that circle of people that, yes, they're supporting you, but not falsely. Like they're giving you honest advice. They're also sometimes just taking your mind off something because sometimes we all just need to vent. Like being in New York, like I've been on so many wild subway situations recently, which no one can fix for me. But, you know, let me vent about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's also that too of just like having the outlet that is not related to your job because don't vent to the people that you work with, but like have a separate outlet of like,
Yeah. You need that. You need
Yeah.
that time also. You need to let you express yourself and
yeah.
say the things that you go through in life. You know.
And then people will say things that totally surprises you that does change your like, oh, yeah, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
I have so many smart people in my life.
and I think everybody also says the same to you. Like you are like very approachable. I will say that in the beginning when I met you, and because you said like you're kind of serious or shy, I thought you were like, oh, maybe she's a very like, you know, like I cannot approach her. But it's completely the opposite. You're super approachable, and I feel like your energy that works around is like that sense of like we work in this industry to do it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then show
And to help each other, to uplift each other. You know. It's
Yeah.
not about.
You know what else I say? I always say, I'm not quiet, I'm listening.
Yes.
You know, and that has given me a lot of information.
And then, like, you know, you have now 5 places. What do you see about, or what do you can say about the non-alcoholic situation that many people feel like, oh, it's because Gen Z doesn't drink or because it's a trend or, you know.
Yeah, I don't think it's because Gen Z doesn't drink. I do think a lot of it is, again, like just hospitality, hosting, wanting to feel inclusive for everybody, for everyone to have that same experience, right? That because I remember like kind of a shift that a lot of us had that we used to make non-alcoholic drinks more like by request, but that also meant someone saying, I don't drink or I'm not drinking right now. And that could open the door to like just intrusive questions. Some people are in a social setting, sometimes it's work, and like that's a boundary. They don't want to talk about it with people. So I remember being like, oh, this is actually not as kind as I think that it is. Like, so then, okay, I want to have at least a few options that people can just call by name. They sound like a cocktail. They sound elegant. They sound mature. These are all 21 plus places. Everybody's included. They don't need to call attention to this if they don't want to. If they want to have a more in-depth conversation about like what we have available, because we always have like different juice and fruit, like, yeah, let's go for it. But I definitely think my perspective is a lot about just being inclusive and having everybody in on the experience. And I think we in our bars have thought differently about like what we offer, because I feel like there was also in the kind of beginning of like, especially like when Seedlip was coming out, and now there's so many options, but just trying to recreate cocktails in non-alcoholic form, which a lot of them like don't necessarily work. But also for a lot of people, they have never drank. So they don't have a reference point for a Paloma or a Negroni.
Yeah, that's
They
right.
just want something delicious that feels like as thoughtful and elegant as what their friend is getting. And then some people, there is a lot, and I do it too, of like just taking time off, but like you still want to be out, you still want to be social. I don't want to skip things just because I feel awkward, I'm not drinking. So I think there's a lot more situational moderation than there used to be. And I like that people feel comfortable being like, not today, but I'm still coming to your thing. Or like, I'm going to a meeting, like, I got to stay sharp. And, you know, how could you, like, you want to support people. Like, you need to be sharp tomorrow? Okay, I got you.
Exactly.
Which that opens also another conversation of like working in this industry and, you know, having non-alcoholic options. It gives you the opportunity that going out, but at the same time, it's like we have to be mindful of like how dangerous could be like also like going out every day with friends and everything, and then doing shots, and then people have issues with like addiction and things like that. And I feel like the industry has been very supportive in the past years that like helping others of like either mental issues like inclusivity and racial issues and addiction issues. So I feel like the industry is not just about selling alcohol; it's also be part of like a social change.
Yeah, and that is like true care for people versus like I've had a lot of conversation with people on the bar team over the year about like kind of once they get into this cocktail thing, and there can be parties every night, but I also always say there's always also another party. Like you don't always have to go to this one. Or you'll make a lot of real friends in this business, but not everyone is your friend. Like who really has your best interest at heart? And sometimes it's just a good time, and there's people along for a good time, and that's fine. But I think, to truly take care of yourself, you do need to like see that balance for you and like, advocate for yourself, respect yourself about where you are in life. And again, like there's always another party. You're not going to get left behind if you need to take some time off or
or you're not competing against anyone,
right, exactly.
The only competition is against you, and of course if you join Speed Rack.
Yes.
But
then you're in the most community-based competition.
Exactly.
Meaghan, I did have this question for you, like what legacy do you hope to leave for this industry?
Ooh, my legacy, I think, a few things. It's going to be a long answer. But I love service. So I think like the art and the true love of hosting people, I hope people take from me, like not just the actual drink in front of you, but like the whole experience that we're thinking about. I think trusting your instincts and building your own perspective, like I have done that for myself and I have helped other people. So I will just keep doing that till the day I fall over. So I feel like that. And I think building, like, I think I have a quiet confidence, and I hope if that makes more people feel comfortable about like not having to be anybody else but themselves and like feeling grounded, like if I can be a part of that, it's very rewarding to me.
Yeah, and like I said, like I mentioned earlier, people is watching. Yeah. People is always watching, and I'm sure that I've heard a lot of people who look up to you. Like they probably don't approach you because because what we just mentioned, and they're like,
say hi.
Exactly, and like you say hi, and same thing with Lynette. Like you guys, you approach them, talk to them. They're humans. They're gonna say hi too.
I mean, also, I will tell you, for me, I can only speak for me. Everybody's trying to sell me something. So when people just want to say a hi,
that's another thing.
So nice.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? Like,
and I mean, talking about legacy, talking to you and people that they want to know about you. I saw that besides all the Instagram pages for the your businesses and your personal, you also have another that it's alumni. I think.
Yeah, I have not been good at it lately, I will say. But to me, like, I really love to keep up connection with people, like people I've traveled with, people that have worked for me. And I got very reflective when Rains was turning 15, that like just how many people had come through there. And sometimes it's years and sometimes it's a few months. But just like how many people were kind of like in my orbit. And people have said to me like that experience was like, it's something I think about a lot. It's a foundation for like how I've moved forward. So I love to keep up with people and like see what they're doing, whether it's in this industry or not. Like, I always say like I'm a cheerleader. Like, I want to be in the background. Like, I made a photo of your face. Like, it's on a stick. Like, go for it. You know.
Before you go, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
The Gibson.
Yes.
We love the Gibson. And I think, like, you know, like, of course, we went to Renslow and we tried a couple of Gibsons. But what will you tell some of the bartenders who are making martinis? What's the thought behind that? Like,
yeah. So the Gibson that is very well known from Dear Irving, I made it for our opening menu. And this was 2014. So it was like right around the time that Instagram was becoming a thing. So I did a little bit I thought about the visuals of drinks much more than I ever had, which is where I thought about that red pearl onion.
oh, okay.
And it was also the first space that we had that really had, I mean, it's small, but we had a kitchen. We could make more things than we did. I will say it also was one of those things about like just trusting my own palate and what I liked, because I have heard about people working on drinks 80 times for months and months. And like I have definitely had ideas that took a while. I made that drink like a couple times and I was like, I love it. And I wanted people to rediscover the Gibson because at that time it wasn't very popular. It wasn't definitely undersung as like a classic, but also like a lot of the pickled onions on the market were not very good. Mm-hmm. So it was like the kind of craft of making a pickle in-house, which you can do a million different ways. Just a very balanced, delicious drink made the same way every time, very consistent. It just has like, I did not think we'd be making it forever and ever. I'm glad we are. Mm-hmm. But I can't tell people like that was my whole goal. Like I was like, I'm going to make a great Gibson. You know, it's going to kind of bring it back. People will be interested in Gibsons again. And now I'm like 12 years later, I'm like, more Gibsons.
Yeah.
But I will say it's like a credit to the drink. Like I still drink it. A lot of people have had it a million times and still love it. And there is that comfort factor of cocktails that I love. I love adventurous things. I love to see what people are doing. But like, I'm a girl that sits at the bar. Like, I also want my comfort things at the end of the day sometimes.
Something that you like. Exactly.
Yeah, that's like, I know exactly how this is going to taste and feel.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And for whoever is not watching this, but they are listening on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast, can you tell your social handle so they can find you on Instagram?
Yes. So I am at Ginger Ricky, which is a nod to my red hair in a cocktail. So Ginger, Rickey. And then, of course, at Dear Irving, at Rain's Law Room, if you want to follow the bars as well.
Yes, please follow them. And you will find every single place and every single cocktail and people how they enjoy your
They're
places.
beautiful and delicious.
April, do you want to have something else to add?
No, I want to thank you. This was an honor. It was an honor to have you. And we want to finish by saying, would you want to send any shout outs to your team or anyone in particular?
Oh, yes. I want to say hello to everyone in the group chat that I'm going to send this to.
Yeah.
But also everyone that has clocked in at Rain's Law Room or Dear Irving. You're part of the story, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
That's so cool. Thank you. I really, really, I'm so happy to have you here because it's an honor, like Edgar says, and you take the time to come to our studio and, sharing your story with the audience. And we hope that
such hospitality in the studio.
Lovely. We are very happy that you're supporting us and people are believing in our job. That we love also the industry. We try to empower everybody who doesn't have a spot because there's a lot of and it's not bad, but there's a lot of places that they just focus on famous or trends and everything. We're from New York. We love New York, and we want to have a lot of faces from New York. So if you have anyone you want to see here, please comment, and we'll have him here.
Make a request.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Dori. Thank you for another
episode.
Meaghan, surprise.
Yeah, thank you. Bye. Sorry. Don't forget to tip your bartenders, and please follow, subscribe, and comment. And
For more episodes like this, go to our webpage, www.bartalkingbarnyc.com.
And we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you so much.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Bye-bye.